Hello, welcome to today's timeless pick a card tarot reading, which is all about self-love. If you are new here, my name is Juliana, and welcome to Sunflower Philosophy Tarot. And if you are not new here, I'm glad you decided to join me for another reading. And today's topic is one that I've wanted to do for a long time, but it just never panned out. So I'm excited to finally get to it today. I am going to first, as always, get into a little brief centering exercise. Then I'll talk about more of what the reading layout will be, and we'll get into the group selection as well after that. So if you are new here, my brief centering exercise is really just like a few minutes of meditation here where we can get in touch with ourselves, our intuition, just feel more grounded and present, especially if you're coming to this from a mind space that's a little more frazzled, or you've been really busy, or you just really want to take a moment to yourself before you get into it. I highly recommend sticking around for that. Of course, if you would not like to do that, there are timestamps in the description and the pinned comment, so you can skip ahead to wherever you want to go. But for those of you who are ready to join me for the brief centering exercise, let's just get right into it. So, first, I must say, if you are in the middle of driving or doing anything that you need to pay attention to, please skip this part and come back another time for this little meditation. But for everyone who is able to, get comfortable, get yourself situated, whether you're sitting, lying down, whatever you want to be doing, just get comfy. And when you're ready, if you feel called to, you may close your eyes and bring your attention to your breathing. Just take a few breaths where you're really paying attention to what it feels like to inhale and exhale. And as you do so, and as you feel yourself begin to relax deeper into the surface that you're resting upon, just release anything that you're ready to release with each exhale, and inhale deeper relaxation with each inhale. You may also begin to bring your attention to your heart center. And as you do so, and you continue to notice your breathing, you may begin to imagine that you are actually inhaling and exhaling through your heart, through your chest, through the center of your chest, through your heart itself, wherever your attention feels drawn to. And just allow your attention to fall there in that central area of your body. And I set the intention for all of us that as you continue to relax and connect with your heart space, that you will connect more deeply with your intuition, that you will connect more deeply with your true self, and you will feel much more open and ready to receive messages that are meant for you and that are in your highest good and best interest. And you will also be able to easily discern that which is not, and allow that to flow past. Allow that to pass you by as you take in that which is truly meant for you. And as you relax even deeper into yourself, may you also find a deep sense of self-trust. That you can trust yourself, not only in this instance, not only to select the reading or readings that are most meant for you at this time, and to receive the messages that are most meant for you at this time, but also going forward into the rest of your life. You can trust yourself. You can trust your own way, your own timing, and the flow of your life just as it is and just as it has been before this moment. And perhaps at this time you also would like to tap into the concept of self-love. Just take in the idea of self-love and notice what you feel in your body, particularly if you're focused on your heart center. You can notice feelings that arise there, but also notice if there's anything else that comes up, if there's any feeling that arises in you in any area when you consider self-love. And just let whatever comes up be and observe it. And if there are any insights that come to you around this feeling or around the concept of self-love, allow those to come to your mind, to your awareness. And don't feel the need to force anything. You can also just simply enjoy this moment with yourself and trust that anything that is meant to come to your awareness will do so in due time when it is most relevant to you. And just know that you are a wonderful, beautiful person in your own way, and that you are meant to be here at this moment, at this time. And by here, I mean in existence, living the life that you're living now. So, with so much love and gratitude for you, I would like to invite you to pause the video if you would like to continue in meditation for a bit longer. Or I would like to invite you to continue on now to the rest of the reading. Thank you for joining me for this exercise. And now let's get on with it. Okay, so thank you so much to those of you who joined me for the brief centering exercise, and also thank you to those who did not. I am happy to now get into the reading breakdown and also group selection of this reading. So just briefly before we get right into it, today's reading, as it is on the topic of self-love, will focus primarily on that. I am going to start by looking at the images on these cards and getting any intuitive messages that come through to begin with to start the reading off. And then we will move into pulling a card to represent how you're currently seeing yourself and what perspective you're seeing yourself from. Then we'll get a card to represent how the most loving perspective sees you, how love sees you, if you will. Then we will pull more tarot cards to both get advice for how you can deepen your practice of self-love in your day-to-day life, or just practice self-love more effectively for you, how you can deepen your sense of self-love. And also we will get a card or two about why this is important for you. Why is self-love an important theme or topic that is coming up for you right now? And what impact will this have in your life, deepening your sense of self-love? We'll then close with the quote on the back of these cards, and that will be our reading. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the groups. So we have 4 groups here, and as you can see, if you're familiar with this channel, you've probably come across these quote cards before. I have a bunch of cards I made myself. These are just index cards that I drew pictures on and wrote quotes on the back of. So we have the images here for you to choose from, and then later on in the reading, we'll also read the quote on the back. But I am going to start here with group 1. So for group 1, we have this image. For group 2, we actually have 2 cards. So we first have this image here with the thank you, thank you, thank you. And then we have this image here with these rainbow glasses. And I just want to note that I will always take as many cards as a group needs to get. So not every group has 2 cards that just came out that way. That's not better or worse. It's just another factor for you to take into account when you're choosing your group. So for group 3, we have this image here with this pencil and the heart. And last but not least, for group 4, we have the sheep. So take all the time you need to select your group. Feel free to pause if you need to. Go down to the timestamps in the in the pinned comment or in the description box and select your group. And of course, you can always select more than one. You can select one and then decide it's not for you and select a different one. You can listen to them all. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, just follow your intuition, trust yourself, and I will see you over in your reading. Hi, Group 1. If you selected this image, then you're in the right place, and this is your reading all about self-love. So we are going to get into, as I mentioned in the reading breakdown and group selection, we are going to get into just some impressions that I get right off the bat from the image on the front of your quote card. We'll get into how you're viewing yourself right now. Like, what is your perspective on yourself right now versus the perspective of love? Like, what is love's perspective on you, basically? What is the most loving perspective of you? And we'll see how those might be similar and how they might be different. We'll just compare and see where you're at. And then we'll get advice on how you can deepen your self-love in your day-to-day life. And also find out why this is important for you. Like, what is some good motivation for you to engage more deeply with self-love / like, why is this coming up for you right now? We'll get whatever wants to come through there. So, and then we'll close out with the quote that's on the back of this card. So stick around for that. Now, let's get started right away with this image. So this is it's the most abstract image of the 4 groups today. And so right off the bat, that could be a significant message or trait when it comes to you. I have this feeling looking at this image of sort of being all over the place. Eclectic is a word that's coming through. This could be how you see yourself. This could be how other people see you. This could be how you're just feeling right now. You might be feeling a little bit all over the place. Zany just came through as well. Hard to pin down, and potentially as well overwhelmed. There is a sense that maybe some of you embrace this zany side of yourself, and then there's another sense that some of you might find this a negative thing or have trouble accepting this about yourself. There's a sense that some of you thrive on chaos, and some of you also wish that you had a little bit more order, or you might be experiencing some chaos in your life that's leading you to feel a little bit out of sorts right now, feeling like something that you are, some aspect of your personality might not be easily able to handle whatever it is that's happening in your life right now. Of course, only take that if it resonates, but these are just some of the messages that are coming through right off the bat. But I'm also getting a lot of just love and joy. And I feel like sometimes there could be a tendency that for some of you to feel very intensely. And sometimes this can be a really amazing, wonderful thing. And sometimes this can feel like a bit of a burden as well. But I'm also getting potentially for some of you a lot of creativity, which can come along with that actually intensity of feeling. And perhaps as well, for some people, like you might have a bit of a temper. You might be easily excitable, but also potentially quick to anger and things like that. So take that if it resonates as well. So those are some of the things that are coming through. Oh, and there's also another message of some people feeling like you might be a lot, quote unquote, or too much as well. So those are the messages that are coming through right now. We'll talk more if some of that becomes relevant in the rest of the reading. We'll talk more about it as we go. But let's just get right into pulling some cards to represent, first of all, how you are seeing yourself right now, and also then how love is seeing you, how you are seeing through love's eyes, through what we'll call a more objective lens, because I tend to feel like love's, oops, sorry if that's a weird noise. I'm just sweeping there's like some particles on here. Sometimes when I'm shuffling the cards, the like cardstock flakes onto the cloth, and it just bothers me. Okay. Anyway, let's get into it. So yeah, we want to see how you're seeing yourself, and then how you're being seen through loving eyes, and just see if there's a disconnect between those two perspectives. So first things first, how is group 1 currently seeing themselves? Okay, that was fast. 4 of Swords. Interesting. Okay. And let's get a card to represent how is love seeing group 1? How is group 1 seen from the perspective of love? How is group 1 seen from the perspective of love? Interesting. Okay. Interesting. So for your perspective, we have the 4 of Swords. And for love's perspective, we have the Queen of Wands, which do strike me as very almost opposite. And they're facing opposite ways too. If you can see, like, even though this is kind of like a coffin here, this person is facing to the left, and the Queen of Steels, which is also the Queen of Wands, is facing to the right. So I do feel like there is some opposition. There's some opposite energy happening when it comes to how you're seeing yourself versus how love sees you, which is very interesting. First things first, with the 4 of Swords, since this is coming from your current perspective, this is likely influenced very much by how you're feeling in this moment. It's not necessarily how you always feel about yourself. So I want to acknowledge that. But what I'm seeing here is, first of all, for some of you, very literally, you just might be exhausted right now or very tired. I was picking up on some potential overwhelm. So some of you might be seeing yourselves through the lens of just exhaustion, which could be influencing how you view yourself from a perspective of you might be seeing yourself as through a more negative lens if you're feeling just really tired in your body, potentially even burned out. But I also got the specific message for some of you that you're seeing yourselves as, some of you see yourselves as lazy. And I feel like this, again, comes from this idea of like burnout, maybe even feeling a little chaotic, feeling a little bit scattered. I'm also getting the message, and only take this if it resonates, but of like neurodivergence or like ADHD, like something around in those realms. So maybe there's some of you that relate to that experience or have a diagnosis in that area, and you might have some perspectives on yourself that align with maybe insecurities you have around that experience in your life, right? Feeling perhaps feeling perhaps like you have a negative perception of your ability to get things done, of your ability to just like effectively communicate, and also feeling like you are easily overwhelmed by life. Now, there's another read on this as well, that you are seeing yourself as perhaps someone who also is peaceful and who maybe is required to maintain the peace or have a more measured perspective on things as well. But also there's like an isolated sort of energy, the energy of someone who is keeping to themselves, who may or may not be shy. I'm getting potentially then, I'm not sure if I don't like people, I don't like being around people kind of vibe. But again, I feel like this is coming from the lens of exhaustion. I don't know what each individual person who's watching, I don't know if you will resonate with all of the traits that I brought up and all of the experiences I brought up, but I feel like even in all your different experiences, there's something where you are exhausted, and that is impacting how you are experiencing and viewing yourself right now, which makes a lot of sense, of course. But when we get to how love sees you, I mean, the Queen of Wands is confident. I would say the Queen of Wands it doesn't have to be outgoing, and yet I feel like she can be definitely outgoing and charismatic in her own way. The Queen of Wands doesn't shy away from interacting with other people. She's very confident in herself, but I feel like the Queen of Wands would also be someone who is confident in interacting with other people and also confident in when she is on her own. The Queen of Wands just has confidence no matter what. The Queen of Wands is also very attractive, very attractive in physically, yes, but in also just the way that she carries herself, in the qualities that she showcases to the world. The Queen of Wands gets shit done, pardon my French, and is sure of herself. And I feel like love sees you as this person, but you might not, again, because if you're feeling burnt out and exhausted right now, you might not see yourself as this person. But I also want to note that even if you aren't feeling like this person right now, this is more naturally who you really are, you know? This is just kind of inherently who you are, even if you are exhausted and tired, even if you are not feeling your best, you still are this person. It's kind of like love is seeing you as inherently important. Like this, I feel like this Queen of Steels, Queen of Wands, has a sense of her own importance. And even if you don't have a sense of your own importance right now, love does. Love can sense and feel your own importance. And so if you are to take on the paradigm of love when you're looking at yourself, you would see your own importance as well. And that would shift how you approach yourself, even when you're going through periods of exhaustion or when you are experiencing some things that in the past you, or even currently, you might be hard on yourself about. Love sees, like, for example, if you are taking a break, right, because you are feeling burnt out and exhausted, love would see that as someone who is in touch with their body, in touch with themselves, and cares about themselves, and knows what they need to do in order to be at their best, taking a well-deserved and needed break and making a wise decision based on the necessity of taking care of yourself, knowing how important that is, and doing so out of self-respect, as opposed to seeing that as laziness or seeing that as a sign of failure, right? But looking at this through the eyes of exhaustion, and it might be hard for you to see it that way. And if you are not as practiced in self-love, in love as you want to be, it might be hard for you to view it in that way. There might be some old programs or ways of thinking about yourself that tell you that you're wrong, bad, lazy, you're doing it wrong, and things like that. I also want to say that there was the message of you seeing yourself potentially as the peacekeeper or someone who stays out of it, someone who tries to keep everything calm, keep everything collected. The Queen of Wands isn't afraid of mixing it up a little bit. I feel the Queen of Wands, she will state her mind. She's less concerned with the opinions and experiences of other people, not in the sense that she necessarily like discounts other people's experiences or just like does whatever the hell she wants without considering other people's feelings, but she is also more objective, I feel, about those things. It's almost giving a little bit of also Queen of Swords vibes. Like, I know this isn't the Queen of Swords, but I am getting some of that energy coming through as well. But with Queen of Wands, it's more like she is so committed to herself and to her self-worth that she doesn't conflate other people's happiness and peace with like her own self-worth. So, for example, if she is to be herself and speak her mind and someone is triggered by that, she might take that into account. She might notice that and see if there is a way that things can be addressed, or if any behavior needs to be adjusted, or if there's a conversation that needs to be had, or if she needs to take a step away, or the other person needs to take a step away. But she's also not going to overthink or take it personally. She's not going to ascribe someone else's projection of discomfort that they might have, that might have been triggered in them because of something that she did or said. She's not going to ascribe that to her own self-worth. And that is the loving perspective here that this Queen of Wands has. And so when you're seeing yourself through that loving lens as well, you don't see yourself as someone who needs to keep the peace in order to be worthy of love, but you see yourself as inherently worthy of love, inherently acceptable, and you see other people's reactions to you in a more objective way that takes things less personally. And once again, it's not like either you are keeping the peace and being quiet for other people's sake to keep everything comfortable, or you're being a menace and you're creating turmoil and chaos for everyone. It's not an either or. It's more like you recognize that you being yourself and being in your highest power does not always equate to people reacting to you in a way that perhaps as a child you ascribed to safety and comfort and you doing the right thing, right? There's this sense of like, when you're a kid, you really want to keep your parents' and caregivers' approval for survival means, and so you will edit your behavior to keep them comfortable if you can, and keeping them comfortable feels like it's keeping you safe emotionally and or physically, depending on the situation that you're in with your caregivers. But as you become an adult and as you grow up and as you become more yourself, you realize that you can rely more on yourself. And sometimes those unconscious patterns of pleasing other people to keep yourself safe, they don't always go away, right? But this Queen of Wands here, this perspective of love, sees the Queen of Wands in her full power and says you don't need anyone else's peace or approval to know that you are doing right for yourself. You're doing okay just as you are. Other people can have their reactions, but they're just coming from their own perspective. You don't need their approval anymore, right? Like, you can do what you want to do what feels right to you, do what you need to do, and allow someone else to go through their process without taking it personally, as you might have once done as a child. And so that is something that could be impacting. That is something that I feel for this group is impacting your relationship with self-love right now. Is there's a little bit of people-pleasing energy, a little bit of, even if it's not necessarily bleeding out too much in your interactions with people. I mean, it could even be in your avoidance of people, right? If you feel like you can only be yourself when you're on your own, then it might be that then it's likely that when you're in interactions with other people, if you're feeling like you have to mask, you have to keep yourself, like you have to really try to be acceptable to other people, you're still experiencing those survival urges to keep yourself safe, which none of that is unusual, or wrong or bad or anything like that. But this is saying that on a higher level, from a loving perspective, you are acceptable just as you are, and your lovability and acceptability has nothing to do with other people's reactions to you. And as you come more into, we're getting a little bit into like a later bit of the reading right now, but as you come more into your self-acceptance and self-love, one of the things you gain from that is an increased sense of confidence that allows you to not overthink your presence in other people's lives. It allows you to accept your presence and value in other people's lives and in your own life, and be less guarded when it comes to social interaction. So let's first get some cards to elaborate on why this is important for you, and then we'll get more advice. So why is this important for you at this time? Why is self-love important for you at this time? Why is self-love important for you at this time? Why is self-love important for group 1 at this time? Why is, the High Priestess and the 10 of Charisma, which is also the 10 of Pentacles. I also want to note that the 2 of Cups is on the bottom of the deck, 2 of Wisdom. So I'll put that over here. So this is kind of like, why is this important to you? It's part of also like, why should you be motivated to develop your self-love? Like, why should this be a practice for you? And we have the High Priestess coming out first and the 10 of Charisma, the 10 of Pentacles. So because for a lot of you here, you want to develop your intuitive skills. If you're interested in developing your intuition, potentially developing more psychic abilities, things like that, if you want to develop skills like mediumship or seeing, talking to spirit, talking to guides, spiritual gifts, your own just personal sense of wisdom. If you want to be an advisor or counselor for other people, if you want to help other people, if you want to be someone that people can come to for guidance and advice, then developing your sense of self-love is essential to that process, because that is one of the things that if you go through that process and you develop your practice, you can help people with that. But aside from just specifically helping people in the realm of self-love and self-acceptance, you having that level of self-love and acceptance allows you to tap more deeply into your wisdom. It allows you to tap more deeply into your wisdom and interact with people in a more confident way where people will trust you more. People will trust you because they can sense that you trust yourself. And they can sense as well that you trust them, because when you have a sense of self-trust, it's also easier to trust other people as well. So as you develop your self-love and acceptance deeper, you will innately gain more gravity to the wisdom that you provide other people, the help that you provide other people, and you will attract more people to you. You will attract more people, more clients, if that's what you're looking for, more friends or acquaintances who are seeking your wisdom. Because I feel like there is a sense of wanting to be validated by other people, of wanting to be approved of by other people and to be recognized by other people. And in order to do that, going through this process of self-love and acceptance will help you recognize and validate yourself. And then you will see more of that reflected back into and how people respond to you. And in addition to that, with the 10 of Pentacles coming out, I mean, that's your financial future. For a lot of you, straight up, it's your financial future. So there could be a lot of people here who are, I'm feeling like a lot of people here are intuitive guides, are maybe life coaches, therapists, doing something in the realms of helping other people, advising other people, working with other people. But even if it's not a directly spiritual or like therapeutic sort of field that you're in, even just in any workplace, in any career space, you will attract more deals, offers, people to you when you have that sense of self-love. And there's a sense of building a future. Whatever future vision that you have for yourself is happening, it's building, and it's getting more and more tangible and more realistic to you the more that you work on your self-love and worth. Because for you, I feel that those two things are very tied. This is the kind of message that's come through in a few readings. So there might be some repeat customers here who have gotten this message in other readings, but there's a sense that wealth and abundance and self-worth is not always tied together. You know, there are plenty of people who don't have a good sense of self-worth who make a lot of money. But sometimes if someone's experiencing a blockage in that area, maybe for them, those things are connected. There's something about your lack of self-worth that is causing you to not see opportunities that are coming your way, not take opportunities, not trust yourself in that realm. And so in some cases, those two things can be tied. And I get the sense for this group that is the case. And as you continue to develop your sense of self-love, which I feel like is a journey that you are already on for most of you here, you're on this journey, you are working towards it, and you're continuing to, and even if you haven't really thought about it before, the fact that you're here listening to this reading, you know, you have an interest in working on it and improving it. And the more you do, the more doors like that, more financial doors will open up, the more that you will open up to opportunities that lead you to a very prosperous future end game, I just heard, in your present. And of course, as I mentioned, this will improve your relationships with other people, improve your ability to advise clients. I do feel a lot of you work with people either professionally or you just have a deep commitment to the people in your life or certain people in your life, and or a discomfort with relationships that you would like to overcome to an extent. And this is one way forward in that. So now let's get a couple cards to represent advice for how you can deepen your self-love. What is some advice? What is the advice that Group 1 needs to hear at this time that will help them deepen their self-love and get them aligned with who they really are? We have the Page of Cups, Page of Wisdom. And we have the Page of Intelligence. Ooh, 2 pages. We love to see it. And then the Ace of Cups on the bottom of the deck, which we love. I'm just going to keep that there. But Page of Wisdom and Page of Intelligence. So that's the Page of Cups and the Page of Swords. So we're embracing a beginner mindset for sure with the pages. A beginner mindset, fun, experimentation. We are being experimental. I'm getting that sense with both the Page of Wisdom and Page of Intelligence. The Page of Wisdom or Page of Cups, to me, is a card that can represent surprises, playfulness, some like childlike energy, but especially in the realms of emotion. Someone who's open-hearted and open to surprises, but with a sense of innocence to them. And I feel that the message here from both of these pages is that try new things, basically. Try new things. Be open to trying new things and experimenting with them and coming at these things with a sense of adventure. Even though the Page of Wands isn't here, I'm feeling like adventure and curiosity and a willingness to see where things go. Because I feel that for some of you, you struggle with being very self-critical when it comes to new endeavors. And when it comes to, as well, especially if you're someone who experiences a lot of burnout or overwhelm, and new adventures might scare you, or you might feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle something unless I know exactly how it's going to go ahead of time. I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle this kind of job, or working with these clients, or there's a lack of self-trust, right? But that is possibly because you are someone whose way of being doesn't necessarily fit with the way that you were raised to be. Again, the sense of being neurodivergent, just not quite fitting in with the environment that you grew up in, where people said you should be one way, but that way didn't work for you. And so you lost some trust in yourself because you took your inability to conform to that way of being as a personal failure. But it's not, and I want to stress that part of you trusting yourself and loving yourself more deeply is allowing yourself to experiment again, where you don't cut yourself off from a new opportunity, but you go into the new opportunity knowing your own quote-unquote limitations and accepting them and being willing to work with them in the new context. So when you come across something that might seem like a roadblock, quote unquote, to you progressing on a certain path, because you're like, okay, well, if I want to start this new job, if I want to start a new job, I don't know if regular hours will work for me. Okay, can you find a job that has hours that work for you? And even if there's going to be a part of you that tells you, no, that's not how it works. No, that isn't out there for me. I've tried, I haven't found it before. Or, everyone says that's just not how it works. Everyone says, I wish I could find a job like that. But no, you go out there, you experiment, you look, you find options and opportunities, and you try them out and you see how it goes. And obviously, I know sometimes that can be easier said than done, but you can start smaller. You can start with things that feel easier to experiment with first, so you can develop a sense of self-trust. So if you say, oh, I'm not good at following through. All right, well, can you look at why you feel like you're not good at following through? Are there some cases where you have followed through on something? What were the circumstances around that actually worked out for you? And what are circumstances in cases where you didn't follow through that didn't work out for you? What stories are you telling yourself around your inability to follow through? Is it because you feel like you're just wired that way? Is it because you feel like, oh, well, I get overwhelmed and then I give up because I keep telling myself that it's not going to work out and there's too many things that I need to do, and you just feel really disorganized in your brain? Can you work on creating a structure for yourself that actually works? And can you also, when something doesn't work for you, when you realize, oh, that didn't work for me, oh, I didn't stick to that structure, can you be easy on yourself and say, okay, let's just shift gears a little bit? And have fun with that process, and also trust that you will find a way of being that works for you, that works for how you were made. And part of finding that is also creating it for yourself, because you have to believe that you're worthy of that, and love sees you as inherently worthy and sees you as the leader of your own life. So I feel like this seeing yourself through exhaustion is seeing yourself through the eyes of a perspective that is just not yours. It's not your life. So you're trying to follow other people's lead, but you're the leader. And love sees you as inherently worthy of being that leader. And so practicing being your own leader, but also from the perspective of like allowing yourself to be a beginner at this, to experiment with it and say, it's okay that I don't know what's going to work for me. I'm going to find out. Like, this page of wisdom is looking off into the horizon, and she's very poised and peaceful. It's a very peaceful horizon. There is a dragon out there, but you get the sense that she's about to strike off on her own adventure, and there's a sense of confidence there, and also openness to the road ahead. The road zigzags, there's mountains, and she might look at those mountains in the distance and say, gee, those look crazy. Like, I don't think I can get through those or climb those or whatever. But then if she actually sets off on the adventure and gets to the mountains, she might find that there's a passageway she can go through, that there's maybe that dragon is actually friendly and she can befriend it and it will take her over the mountains, right? But in order to find that out, she's got to start on the path. And so that is your advice to when you feel led towards something, start on the path and allow the path to unfold. Trust that it will unfold. There will be opportunities and ways that will work for you in your particular way of functioning, and also make experimenting with what works for you your priority, as opposed to trying to cram yourself into other people's plans, right? You can draw inspiration from other people's stuff, but you do not have to conform to it. You can take and discard whatever you like. You're the creator, you're the inventor, you're the experimenter. And that also goes for if you are someone who has a lot of zany, interesting, new, or different ideas. Don't look for validation from others. Experiment with it yourself. Try it out yourself. I'm also getting like the Fool, or like the Scientist from this deck, which is sort of a secondary Fool card. Someone who experiments, who's an inventor, who's different and weird and has ideas that are not validated by the people around them, but the people around them just don't have enough information yet to understand it, because they don't see things in the same way that this person does. But you, being the leader of your own life, being your own inventor, and being the one who is in control and in charge and leading your life and experimenting with things, you don't need to prove anything to them. You got to prove it to yourself. You got to work with yourself. You got to trust your own path. And that can include, of course, especially for those of you who feel like you are burnt out or exhausted or holding on too much, trying to keep the peace. Cut yourself slack. Let yourself rest. Allow yourself that as part of your journey. That is part of your experiment, is experimenting with how much rest you need, what works for you, what feels peaceful to you, what kind meditation does it work for you. If it does, great. If it doesn't, in the way that you've been trying it, are there different kinds? There's all different kinds of ways. There's different methods and different things, and you can pick and choose from things that already exist, but you get to put it together in your own way. And love says that is not only perfectly valid and okay, that is part of what makes you special, and a part of you that is to be embraced and loved and excited about. And so I want to now close by actually reading the quote that's on the back of this image here that we picked all the way in the beginning. So let's read what the quote says now. But no matter what you learn, good, bad, or indifferent, know that you are so much just as you are right now. From the TV show Anne with an E. This is said by Aunt Josephine. Anne with an E, if you aren't aware, is just Anne of Green Gables, but it's a particular adaptation of it. Let me read that again, though, because that's perfect. But no matter what you learn, good, bad, or indifferent, know that you are so much just as you are right now. And when she says this, she's talking about Anne learning about her ancestry and is an orphan, and she wants to learn more about her birth parents and her heritage. And so she's nervous about that and what she'll find. And that is Aunt Josephine's reassurance to her. And in this case, this is also the case for you. I mean, maybe some of you relate to that specific situation, but also about what you learn about yourself, what you learn about what you need and how you best function in the world, no matter what you learn about that. And also, for some of you, maybe you are seeking some kind of diagnosis, mental health, physical health, whatever, as well. No matter what you learn in that area, you are so much just as you are right now, with whatever limitations you could be dealing with, whatever differences that you have from the way that you think you should be or other people have thought you should be. You are just as you are right now. You are already this. You are already this person. Experimenting with these things is an act of self-love, because you are actually allowing yourself to entertain your true needs and your true way of being, your authentic self. You're actually allowing yourself to start to accept that and to start to see it in a new light and see it in a way where you see the things that once, anything that you could think of that is, you might see as a negative trait of yourself, there's another way to see it. There's a positive. There's a way to work with it. There's a way to use it. Anything that drags you down, as soon as you flip your perspective on it, as soon as you start working with whatever your body, your mind, whatever is telling you, and getting yourself in order and listening to the cues that have been given to you from your body, from your intuition, from your mind, you start to use that as your superpower rather than your limitation, right? And so you are on that journey right now, and you are that person right now, but it's really this journey of self-love is letting you unlock that, letting you see that. And when you see that and accept that, then you start to embody that more and believe in it and see yourself in this way. And probably, I guarantee a lot of other people have already seen you in this way, but you get to do that now. You get to experience yourself as that. And you also get to find other people who will value those things in you that have maybe been devalued by other people. So, excellent, amazing, beautiful. I believe that's it. Yeah, that's it. So, thank you. I hope that you enjoyed this reading. I hope this was helpful. I hope that I wish you the best of luck on your journey of self-love, and that you start to recognize how wonderful you are just as you are right now. And thanks you so much for watching. If you are interested in a personal reading, we do offer those on our website, sunflowerphilosophy.com. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. And also we offer hypnosis and human design services, which can be helpful to you as well. So you can feel free to check those out. We have another YouTube channel that we just got started as well, where we talk about our other services, and just my mom and I, by the way, that's the we I'm talking about. We work together and we talk about our other services. We get into discussions, philosophical things, and so we will be posting more videos there soon. It's Sunflower Philosophy, just minus the tarot. And the link for that is also in the description, so you can check that out too. Have a wonderful life, and I will see you in another reading again sometime very soon. Bye! Hi Group 2, if you selected this card and also this card, then you are in the right place, and this is your reading all about self-love. And as I mentioned in the reading breakdown and group selection, we are going to talk about the images on these cards. We are going to talk about how you're seeing yourself right now, how love sees you, the perspective of love, how that sees you, and how similar or different your perspective and love's perspective are at this time. Then we'll get into why self-love is important for you right now, why it's worth exploring deeper, and also some advice of how to do that. And then we'll read the quotes that are on the back of these cards. I did mention this in the group selection, but you are the only group that got 2 cards for this, and I allowed it because it's the only group where 2 cards came out, and if that is the amount of cards that need to be here, if those are the messages that need to come out for you, then I always allow that. So we will talk about them both. So without further ado, we'll start by talking about the images on these cards. So this card here, obviously you can see, I'm sure, so it just says thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There's a lot of gratitude here. And I feel for some of you, this could be your energy towards life or towards someone. Maybe you're also having a breakthrough in self-love and you're feeling that kind of gratitude for yourself, which, if so, is beautiful. And for anyone who's not quite there, this could be on the horizon for you, a breakthrough in gratitude for yourself and for your life, and feeling like you're finally thanking yourself for being there for you in some way, for some of the choices that you've made out of love for yourself. But I do feel like this could be the energy of people in your life as well, or someone in particular in your life who's deeply thankful to you for your presence. And also just like in general, the universe's gratitude for you. I feel like a lot of you need to hear that that people, but also the universe, is very grateful for your existence, grateful for your presence in this life. And it feels quite intense. So there could be some heavy energy that you've been through, or that other people in your life have been through, that you've worked through, or you've helped other people work through. And we also have these glasses with the rainbow colors. So something about perspective is very important and also very different. I feel like there's a sense of having the ability to see things that other people cannot. Maybe for some of you, this is in particular some psychic abilities. I'm getting the example of seeing auras, for example, seeing things that other people don't. Perhaps even being an artist or having an artistic perspective. For some people, maybe being interested in things that other people aren't interested in as much in your area. And this interest that you have, being able to dig deeply into certain details other people would miss, allows you to see things in a way that is very unique, especially amongst the people that you might normally be around. So there's something very unique about your perspective, and there's something very important about gratitude here today. So we will get more into that as we go through the messages, but we'll read the quotes on the back of these cards at the end, and we're just going to get right into your perspective on yourself, and then we'll get into love's perspective on you as well. So we will compare those two. So first things first, let's pull a card to represent Group 2's perspective of themselves. What is Group 2's current perspective of themselves? All right. Death. Interesting. And what is love's perspective of Group 2 at this time? What is love's perspective on Group 2 at this time? Love's perspective. What is love's perspective? I don't know why I'm singing. What is love's perspective on Group 2 at this time, please? Interesting. Okay, 7 of Steel, 7 of Wands. Interesting. Okay. So. With death coming out here, your perspective on yourself right now is changing. It's in the middle of a transformation. So I almost feel like for a lot of people here, you are currently, your perspective on yourself might be shifting very rapidly or regularly. You might not feel like you have a really solid sense of self right now, or you might feel like you're still figuring it out. Like you're in the process, you're on the journey, and you don't know where it's going to land yet. So like, I feel like there's a sense of not necessarily knowing how to relate to yourself right now, but it's because you're going through a major transformation, a major change in life, a major shift. One that could feel like it's for the better, one that could feel like it's for the worse, but either way, you don't really know where it's going yet. And so it might be hard for you to, I feel like you might not have a lot of concrete identity markers right now that are like, yes, I'm this kind of person and I really like this about myself. Because I almost feel like it's like spiritual awakening energy. You're connecting with the sense of yourself that exists beyond words, beyond experience, and you can't really pin down, something very specific in particular about your concrete physical experience that is like, yes, that's a reason to love myself. Because I feel like you're going through this experience of understanding that love does not need reason. It doesn't need anything but to be. Of course, we can talk about love as a practice, and that's where we're talking about self-love as well, as a practice, as something that you can do and exercise and create a deeper relationship with. But I do feel like you're going through this process of understanding your life and yourself quite differently. And so I don't know if you really understand where you stand with yourself at this moment. I feel like your perspective is consistently shifting and changing, which is fine. That's a perfectly acceptable place to be. So when we look at you through the eyes of love, we have the Seven of Steels or Seven of Wands on this deck. In this deck, represented by the character of Rafael Santiago, this is the Shadowhunters Tarot deck, so you don't have to be familiar with that book series to follow along. I will tell you if the characters on the cards are important, and in this case, I do feel like Raphael is important here. Actually, Raphael, it's funny, Death came out and then Raphael came out because Raphael is undead. He is actually a vampire in this series. He did go through a very literal transformation of self, and he did actually, you know what, let me shift this, sorry. It's like not quite centered and it's really annoying. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, Raphael is, he went through a transformation of self where he turned from a human into what some people would call a monster. And he is a character who starts off in the series coming off as quite sinister, or not quite, but like a little sinister, like a little antagonistic, but ultimately becomes an invaluable ally to the main characters and becomes a beloved character in his own right. And some of his story could relate to yours, but I also feel like there is a sense of, like, he stands on his own. He is also aromantic and asexual, so he's just, like, not interested in romantic relationships, and in that series there's, like, a lot of romance, so he kind of stands out in that sense as well. So there's a sense that no matter if you relate to that specific experience or not, like, there's something very singular about you. There's something very independent about you. Love sees you as someone who knows what they're about and knows who they are. And that's funny because it's really counter to how you're seeing yourself right now, which is perhaps not knowing what you're about, knowing who you are. And that feels contradictory, but I almost feel like it's, in a way, you're going through this transformation is releasing things from your identity that are not real, not true, and not serving you. And so while you might feel like you're losing a sense of identity right now, it's because you are releasing things that are not you, and you are becoming this person who's very sure of yourself. And I feel like you already are to some extent, but you might still be in part of the process where you're not quite solid on that. There might be a lot of days that you have, and this could even just be in this moment right now in time, where you're like, do I know who I am? Like, what? But it's like on a deeper level, you do. And it's just, you're questioning yourself because you're going through a big change. And some of the things that you went along with in the past, some of the things that might have seemed natural to you or just natural to the people around you are not natural to you anymore. And that's because you've realized, like, you know who you are, and it's not whatever that is, right? And so this is someone who can be very independent, who can be on their own, who can do their own thing, be a lone wolf in a way. And that doesn't mean that you are a lone wolf and that you have to be alone in your life, but it's more like it's like not a follower, you know. There's leadership energy here. There's a sense of someone who's capable, who's calm, collected, and up to a challenge. And that is who you really are, and that's who you're becoming. That's who you're transforming into, I feel. And once again, there's a sense of singularity, of standing out, of standing on your own in a very positive way, but potentially a lonely way. And yet I feel like, if anything, either that's where you're meant to be right now, or you're comfortable with that. The person who you are becoming is comfortable with that. And it's a very positive thing for you. So now let's ask the question. Yeah, I want to say, like, love sees you. I almost feel like, once again, like I don't necessarily feel like you are seeing yourself through a negative lens, but more of a confused one. Where it's like, you're like, I don't know who I am right now. And love says, you know exactly who you are, and who you are is this capable leader, this person who stands on their own, this person who is capable and independent. And interesting. Yeah. I want to get into why self-love is important for you right now, why this is coming up for you, why this is important for you to practice right now in your life, because I feel like that also will clarify some things about the journey that you're currently on. So why is self-love important for group 2 right now in particular? King of Cups and 6 of Swords. King of Wisdom, 6 of Swords. You're maturing. You're growing up. Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, there's a progression here. Wheel of Fortune, divine timing, the wheel is turning, things are changing, you're going through a new cycle. With death here, I want to say, for some of you, this could be a very intense cycle, right? This death could be very literal for some of you in terms of what you're experiencing in your world. If that's the case, feeling lost, feeling confused, feeling a lot of intense emotions, all of that is very normal. And it might suck sometimes, but it's very normal. And even if you're going through a transformation where maybe it's not as heavy in terms of things that have happened in your life, it can still feel very heavy in terms of like feeling lost, feeling like I don't know who I am anymore, right? I don't know who I'm becoming. But you are transforming, you are growing through this process, and that's evidenced by the King of Cups and the 6 of Swords. King of Wisdom, 6 of Intelligence. You are learning, you're growing, you're changing, you're moving from dark into light. This is also, for me, like shadow work. You're addressing certain things that you used to identify with that now you no longer do, because it was part of like your shame, your shadow controlling you. Now you're starting to accept things in yourself. It's almost like in group 1, I was talking about a perspective shift around things that they once saw as their weaknesses being actually their strengths. And as long as they're willing to work with those aspects of themselves in terms of being strengths, they will find a deeper acceptance for themselves and figure out how the way that they are is actually perfect and exactly who they're meant to be. You are like almost on a similar journey, and I feel like you're going through this, but it's almost like it's a transformation that you have been going through at this time that it feels almost like a little bit more specific. Like you're going through a certain, like almost like a marker in your life. Like if you believe in soul plans and contracts and things like that, it's almost like you're going through whatever change and shift you're going through is something that you planned for, that is meant to happen, like a specific transition that your soul wanted to plan to go through in this lifetime. And so it's a big shift for you that's kind of taking place maybe over an extended period of time that feels like quite a change. And it is, once again, this maturing process. Maybe this is something that's been going on for a long time for you. And you are only now starting to really feel the changes of it and feel it intensify and feel yourself really starting to feel like a new person, feel like a different person. But yeah, why this is important for you is because it's part of your emotional maturity. It's part of your becoming this King of Cups. This King of Cups to me is someone who has strong emotional boundaries, because they, with not just like with other people, but like with themselves, you learn and grow and know and understand yourself deeply. The King of Cups can seem potentially emotionally detached, but it's not through not feeling their emotions or understanding them or knowing them or suppressing them. It's through deeply understanding himself, deeply engaging and accepting those deeper parts of himself, and through that knowledge of himself, through that learning of himself, coming to a sense of detachment in a healthier way, in a way where he can separate himself from his emotional experience, but also work with it, understand it, and honor it. And yeah, emotional intelligence, that's what you're developing through this time, through this change. and it's leading you to maturity, to a new level of adulthood. When I say like you're growing up, you're maturing, it doesn't matter what age you are, right? You're still always growing. You're always growing up. You're always maturing. And if you think of life as something that's less confined to one particular human experience and something that maybe you've been experiencing over many lifetimes, that you have many lifetimes that you've been experiencing, you are always growing. Like your soul is always growing. You're always expanding, right? And so you are continually growing up. But this is a particularly significant time for you, a significant transition for you that is currently happening. And self-love is helping you through that, because it's helping you accept, like the King of Cups, the King of Wisdom, the King of Cups, like he has a deep sense of self-love and acceptance, because if he didn't, he wouldn't be able to know himself so deeply, because it would be hard for him to accept those dark parts of himself. But with the Six of Swords here, you, I feel like, have perhaps gone through the darkness in yourself quite a bit, and you're coming out into the light with a deeper understanding of those depths, so that you don't fear them anymore. And that is important. That is something that will be incredibly valuable to you going forward in life. And so that's why self-love is important to you right now, because if you feel like you are in some of that darkness, you're dealing with some of those depths, you're dealing with seeing yourself in a new way, losing the sense of your identity, self-love as a practice can help keep you grounded in yourself, even when you don't know who that is or what that means. So let's get some advice on how Group 2 in particular can practice self-love more in their day-to-day life at this time. Okay, we have King of Intelligence, which is the King of Swords, and we have Nine of Strength, which is the Nine of Wands. So we're developing, intelligence, King of Intelligence, King of Swords. So you focusing on your mental health and focusing on particularly resilience. The Nine of Strength to me is invariably a card about resilience. And with the Three of Wisdom being on the bottom here, I feel like there is community out there that can help you. There are people in your life who you can work with on this. I'm getting specifically the sense of a support group. So whether it's a literal support group, maybe this transformation you've been going through has taken the form of, as I mentioned, perhaps literal death in your life, or loss of a loved one in another way. Could be breakup, loss of job, addiction, things. It could be really heavy things that you're releasing, but even things that are not maybe as easily pinned down as a common experience amongst people. You might be surprised at the kinds of support you can find in the community around you. Looking up support groups for a specific situation you're going through, or a spiritual group that feels, and use your discernment, of course. In times of confusion, you might feel quite vulnerable, and it is important to use discernment when you are looking for community and groups, because of course there are some that are not always the most positive experiences, but I do feel for you there are some very positive connections and people and groups that you can be a part of, maybe you already are a part of, that can help you on this journey of self-love, which I do feel for a lot of people directly impacts your mental health. It's directly about building mental fortitude, focusing on your mental health, focusing on developing your capacity in terms of like what you can handle, your nervous system, your resilience. There are people who can help you with that. There are people who can support you. And there is also, I just heard there's no shame in focusing on that. So for some of you, you might have had resistance to getting help for your mental health. And now, as an act of self-love, as a way to explore that more deeply, it is time for you to start paying more attention to that and seeking out communities, people, groups who are focused on that area in a way that speaks to you, that it piques your interest, that I get the sense for a lot of you, you may have been blocked off from before. You may have not accepted or not been interested in, because you might have said, that's not for me. I'm not that kind of person. I don't do that kind of thing. But now the door is being opened for you to explore that, to walk on through and see what it's all about. There's some things that in the deeper parts of you that you're becoming more aware of, you actually have a deep curiosity about, and you're being welcomed to explore that. And to do so with discernment, to do so with any skepticism you might have, caution, if you will, but also trusting yourself to be able to discern, to explore those things, and to know that the more you dip a toe into a new experience, the more opportunity you have to develop your discernment, to actually understand what is for you and what is not for you, especially in a time where you might be questioning all of that. Any practices that you can, that are centered around building resilience, and practices that are centered around mental health, and any way that you can connect with other people on those topics and can be in community on those topics that are directly affecting you at this time, that is a great step in developing your sense of self-love. So that is somewhere that you can start if you haven't explored those kinds of things yet. If you know there's things that you've been thinking about exploring, it's time to really take that step. And then for those of you who are already on that path, it's continuing on that path, and perhaps for you, turning your attention more directly to the topic of self-love and how you can develop your mental health around that, how you can develop your resilience around that. So resilience, what is resilience if not continually learning how to keep giving yourself chances, keep giving yourself more chances to be who you want to be, to come back stronger, to say, hey, like, no matter what happens in this situation, I love you still. So, if you quote unquote fail, if you have an off day, if you slip back into a habit that you were trying to break, can you still love yourself through that? Can you have the resilience to come back stronger the next time, to keep going, even when you have the sense that it would be easier to give up, or because you might find that you have a lot of 2 step forward, 1 step back experiences where you feel that you're making progress, but it's not consistent as you would like. Building your self-love through that process, building your ability to accept yourself in whatever state that you're in, will help you keep going, and will help you recognize and see those hard days through the eyes of more compassion. So, and another message that I just got is, also, like, say you're going through like a spiritual awakening and you're exploring, or any kind of like shift in your interests, where you're interested in exploring things that you never looked into before, that you might feel a little shy about exploring because you have your like misgivings about it, or you're like, oh, I don't know, this is kind of weird, but I'm kind of into it. It is okay to, as I said, like, exercise discernment and caution and skepticism. Those are all wonderful things, but dip your toe in, see what it's like, check it out, be curious, and allow yourself to indulge that curiosity and expand your intelligence if there are things that you want to study and explore on your own first as well. Dip your toes in, see what it's like. Keep your protections, keep your skepticism, keep your caution, but explore it nonetheless, and trust yourself to be there for you no matter what, and no matter what you find. So let's read the quotes to close this out. So first, let's read this quote. We have, "Thank you for changing my life. Lives are hard to change," from Russian Dolls, the TV show. The character Alan is the one who says this. "Thank you for changing my life. Lives are hard to change." Yes. And there could be, as I was saying, there could be a person or people in your life who are thanking you for this, but I also feel like this is a gratitude that you might be reflected in you for people in your life, but also I feel like there's a sense of gratitude for certain things in your life that might have been difficult, but you're seeing how you have changed through those obstacles, through those experiences, and there's a sense of developing gratitude around that. And just a general sense of gratitude for change, and just enthusiasm and excitement around the fact that you can change. I feel like for some of you, even if it's been difficult, there's ways in which you're changing that you're actually really excited about or intrigued by, because there are some ways in which you thought you would never change. And the fact that you are capable of the change that is happening in your life is exciting to you, because it's just like so mind-blowing, because for a long time, part of you would have never considered this possible, or just thought, oh, this is just the way I am. And so there's something intoxicating or exciting about realizing, oh my God, my life is changing. I'm changing. I've changed. And that's incredible for you in a way. That's an experience that you're learning to really value, even if it's been difficult. Even if some of the experiences have been less than positive and maybe really tested you at a certain point, you're starting to find your gratitude for that right now, which is so beautiful. And then last but not least, we have this quote, which says, if you had a special knack for finding things, it means you owed the world to look. If you had a special knack for finding things, it means you owed the world to look. From The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Yeah, so going back to what we're talking about with the front of this card, yeah, there's something in your perspective that's very unique. Going back to you, the eyes of love, seeing you as someone very singular, very individual, maybe very individualistic. Your particular point of view that you're developing, that you might be exploring now in ways that you haven't before, is very important. It's valuable. It could be life-changing to you, but also life-changing to other people, to look into the things that you're curious about, to explore things that you haven't before. I feel like for some of you, there's even a sense of you've always been maybe a curious person, but you've kept it very much to yourself. You've kept like firm boundaries around, okay, this is what I can share, this is what I can't share. I'll look into this, but I'll also be a little insecure about it, but I'll still like look into it. Like, it's almost like you're exploring new horizons and your identity around yourself is changing, but it's almost like you're just opening up to the fact that, oh wait, I've always been this person. I've always been curious in this way. I've always been, this has always been inside of me. And now I'm starting to admit it to myself, to recognize it, and also be more open to exploring it more openly in my life. In whatever, however this is that you're changing, however this is that you're growing, it's something that's always been there. But now you're starting to also find your place in it's funny because there's a very individualistic energy here, but it's like you're finding how you're feeling more, or you will be feeling more connected to how your individual puzzle piece of existence fits in with the larger puzzle, and you're valuing yourself more because of that, and finding more purpose in how you explore the world, right? You're not just curious for the sake of being curious. You actually have more of a purpose behind it now. You're feeling like there's a sense of importance in the things that you're doing, and that's actually important. That's actually really good, because it speaks to an increase in the amount that you value yourself and what you bring to the table, which is valuable. Like, it's almost like the sense of like, oh my God, like I am important, because literally, like literally everyone and everything else in this universe, I am like this singular like miracle that exists. Like the miracle of the fact that you exist, you being exactly who you are, born exactly where you were, with the circumstances that you were in. Like, there is no one exactly like you. There's no one exactly like anyone else. And you're like really starting to embrace and feel that deeply, which is helping you then also take on a greater sense of responsibility with how you move through the world. Beautiful. Wow. That's really cool. Is there anything else for group 2? There's something, this character has a cross that he wears. So for some of you, faith and spirituality in some way is definitely significant. And there's something, because Raphael, I mentioned, is a vampire, but in the universe that he's written in, vampires it's interesting because they do get burned when it comes to like crosses. Like, he has a burn on his chest from the crucifix where it touches his skin, but he still wears it anyway to go visit his family, because he still has a connection to them and to his faith, even though he cannot speak the word God, he cannot pray anymore. He still has that connection. But also there's the implication that vampires who have different belief systems, like different things will affect them. So it is very much based on their belief system what actually affects them, right? So if Raphael was then to change his mind about his relationship with his faith, he might be able to wear the cross. It's like the irony of that. And it feels like that is some kind of metaphor or story that is significant, but I'm not getting why. Like, I'm not getting how in particular that's important for you. There's something in there about faith, about perspective. And it fits in terms of like what things we were talking about. I feel like you are going through a big perspective shift and potentially a big shift in terms of faith and spirituality and how you view the world and your place in it. And there's something in there that could be very relatable to you. But I almost feel like either you are going to get an aha, like something in that story triggers something for you, like something in that little allegory makes sense for you, or you're not. But I almost get the sense I'm not meant to know what that means and why that's significant. But I wanted to say that. I wanted to give that little tidbit of this character's backstory. So, yeah. If you know what that means, then perfect. But yeah, that's it. We're going to close it out now. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I would love to know what you think of this reading, what certain things meant to you, what they brought up for you. If you feel like sharing, that would be amazing. Also, if you are interested in personal readings, we do offer those on our website, sunflowerphilosophy.com, link in the description, along with hypnosis and human design services. My mom and I work together, so that is the we that I'm talking about. And if you are interested, we just started a new YouTube channel. Well, we've had it for a while, but we just started posting videos on our other channel about our other services and talking more about hypnosis, having spiritual chats, talking about tarot. We just got it started at time of recording, so we'll be posting more videos on there soon. That's Sunflower Philosophy without the tarot on YouTube, and the link is also in the description for that. So feel free to check that out as well. I hope you have a wonderful life. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in another reading again sometime very soon. Bye! Hi Group 3, if you selected this image, then you're in the right place, and this is your reading all about self-love. So as I mentioned in the reading breakdown / group selection, we are going to talk about the image on the back of this card and any messages that are coming through from this. Then we'll get a card to represent how you're seeing yourself at this current time. We'll get a card to represent how love is seeing you at this current time. We'll compare, we'll see where you're at. We'll get some information on why self-love is important for you at this time, why developing your relationship with self-love is important, and then also some advice on how you can do that. And then we'll close by reading the quote that's on the back of this card. So that's how we're going to do it. Nice, neat little circle there. We'll circle right back to this card. I'm enjoying that format. But yeah, let's get right into it without further ado. So looking at the image on this card, we have this pencil here drawing a heart. I'm getting for this group something about self-expression being very important. So some of you might be creatives, or you might be working on your self-expression, working on, I just heard, public speaking, writing, art. Expressing yourself with love is very important. Journaling could be very significant. Could be a practice that helps you specifically on your self-love journey. Journaling about it, journaling about yourself, affirmations, things like that. That is very important for you as well. And there's a sense of potential. There could be some tension between your past and present in terms of things that you regret. There might be a tendency to be hard on yourself, to look back and see how you could have done things better, and to not always know how to carry out the energy that you want to see and you want to embody in your present. Because sometimes you might have a hard time moving on from mistakes that you've made. Which actually, if I remember the quote correctly, we'll get into it later. We'll get into that later. But yeah, that is what's coming through from that image. So take it if it resonates. But we're going to now get right into what is your current perspective on yourself. And then we'll get into love's perspective on you. So what is Group 3's current perspective on themselves? How are they currently seeing themselves? How is Group 3? Okay. 8 of Swords. Okay, so you're not seeing yourself at all. That is the first. Yeah, for some of you, you don't see yourself clearly at all. Fascinating. But for some of you, I feel like it's more that you're seeing yourself as limited. You're seeing yourself through the eyes of your limiting beliefs, through the eyes of your limitations. Before we get more into that, I am going to pull the card for how love sees you. So how does love see you at this time? How is love seeing you? How does the loving perspective see you? How does love see you? Interesting. Okay. How does love see you? 8 of Runes. I said interesting just because the 8 of Swords actually flipped over in the deck. It did not flip out, but it flipped over in the deck. So we've got 2 8s here. So 8 definitely is coming through as significant. Interesting. 8 of Swords and 8 of Cups. This is the 8 of Cups, by the way. And this one has, even though it's not the 8 of Swords, it has the words bind to on it. And so there's this character, this person on the 8 of Swords is in bindings. The 8 of Swords flipped over in the deck when I was shuffling it, but did not come out. So there's a sense of love acknowledging. Ooh, okay. There's a sense of love acknowledging the limitations that you see in yourself. Love acknowledging the ways that you felt trapped or feel stuck or blocked. And love is not turning away from that. So there's a sense that, well, we'll get into, there's a sense of love accepting you in all of your limitations, in all of the ways that you see yourself as not enough or incapable. For some of you, this could relate to if you have very concrete things that seem to be holding you back right now. Say you have physical or mental disabilities. Say you have some difficult external circumstances that are keeping you from doing certain things you want to do. Love is seeing you in all of that and accepting all of that and loving all of that and not turning away from it or diminishing it or telling you that it's not your experience. That's very important. Love accepts and validates those limitations. So when I was saying that you don't see yourself or you see yourself as very limited, I do feel that there is a sense of it's almost like both things are true, because there is truth in the idea that when you're coming from a space of seeing yourself as very limited, as incapable, as stuck, you're not seeing all the ways in which you are not. And yet at the same time, love also acknowledges that you might have difficult emotions around those things. Those experiences are the experiences that you've had and have been having for a reason, and that it validates that and it accepts that, right? Love is not going to ignore where you're at, where you've come from, where you've been. It's not going to ignore how you truly feel about yourself. It's going to say, and I love you just the same. And that feels like a very important message for people in this group. With the 8 of Cups coming out for how love sees you as well, I do feel like there is a sense of love acknowledging the difficulty of your circumstances and the unfairness, any unfairness that you've experienced. Because while I do feel like I almost feel like love does not want to force you to move on too quickly from things that you're not ready to move on from, because that's not the loving thing to do. So while I can say you don't see yourself clearly, you see yourself only through these limitations, love is saying, but I'm going to meet you where you're at right now, because there's no condition on love to say you have to see yourself through a loving lens before I love you. And so love is like, let me see that with you. Let me be there with you in that time. Yeah. And there's this sense of, once again, like love is like, I'm sticking with you, even with all the limitations that you see in yourself, even with all the things that perhaps perhaps have held you back from your past, from your circumstances. Love is like, I'm stuck to you. I'm stuck with you. I'm sticking with you. As long as it takes for you to, as long as it takes. I get the sense that there is definitely, you definitely have the ability to transcend whatever blocks that you're in. But love is like, there's no rush. I'm not pushing you. I'm not rushing you. You are not required to change anything about you in order to be loved right now. That is what love sees. Love also sees you as very capable of moving beyond these things. With the Eight of Cups, that is a moving on card. That can be a card of emotional detachment as well, detaching emotionally from things from the past, leaving certain things in the past. So love sees you as very capable of leaving certain things in the past, of moving on. Love sees you as worthy of moving on. Love says it doesn't matter. One thing I want to note about the two characters on this card, Aline Penhallow and Helen Blackthorne, is that in the book series they're from, Shadowhunters book series, you don't have to know it. I will tell you about these two. They are girlfriends. They are romantically involved, and one of them is exiled because of her heritage. She's a fairy. There's a lot of anti-fae sentiment in the Shadowhunter community. You don't have to know what that all means, but just know that she's in exile, and her girlfriend Aline goes with her. They stick together no matter what. And there's no sense of Aline feeling regret or uncertainty about sticking with Helen, even though she would not have to go if not for Helen, right? Like, there's the sense that, like, Aline could say, oh, well, like, you know what, I'm not going to leave my family. I'm not going to go into exile with you, you know? But Aline sticks with her. Aline sticks by her side and goes with her wherever she needs to go. And they just accept the limitations that have been placed on them and deal with them and stick together, even through circumstances that feel difficult and unacceptable, even though Aline could have left her behind, but she didn't. And that's the loving perspective. Like, love is like, nah, like, I'm not leaving you behind. When we walk out of these chains, when we walk out of these limitations, when we walk out of these bonds, we walk out together. And I'll stay with you through that. I don't need you to feel free in order to be with you. And that's also a reflection, I feel, of you. When you take a loving perspective on yourself, you stay with you. You don't abandon you through your perceived limitations, through your perceived inabilities, through your perceived faults. You stick with you. You say, and even with all of that, I love you. And I love all of that too. And there's a very unconditional acceptance, a very much commitment in this perspective. And so you taking on the loving perspective, you aligning with love, is you saying, and I'm with you no matter what. I feel like a little emotional. Oh my God. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's I'm with you no matter what. It's like you could list out, well, I did this and I did that in my past, and I can't do this, and I suck at that, and this is really hard, and you know, love just says, and yeah. So it's like, metaphorically speaking, or literally in some cases, you might have people in your life, but like, it's like going to someone who's a friend or a romantic partner and being like, listen, like, I'm this way and that way and whatever, and you can just leave me behind, like I'm not worth it. And the other person being like, so, like, yeah, sure, I could recognize all those things within you, and I could recognize those circumstances, but I'm with you no matter what. And that's what you gotta be to you as well. You gotta stick with you, and love is sticking with you as well. Like, it's unconditional, which is very beautiful. So now let's ask the cards why self-love, why practicing self-love is so important for you right now. I feel like we're kind of getting the idea, but yeah, we'll take these cards. Yeah, there's only three. There's three. We can work with three. All right, so we have the Six of Pentacles, the Four of Strength, which is the Four of Wands, and the Wheel of Fortune. Two of Wisdom, Two of Cups on the bottom of the deck. That also came out on the bottom of the deck for this section in group 1. Yeah. So there is something with regards to relating to other people. There's definitely the sense of a support system. So for some of you, that message of like people who are committed to you no matter what, who see the faults and mistakes that you have in you and are still with you, have stuck with you all through all this time, like, and this realization, one of the things that you might not see, one of the things that you might be blindfolded to is the way that other people are committed to you, not because they see you as a way that is different from how you see yourself, like not because they see you as like perfect and like infallible or whatnot, but just because you are you. And all the things that you might hate about yourself, well, first of all, they might have a different perspective on those things, but second of all, it might just not be that big of a deal to them. And there's a realization in that. And I almost feel like even if you feel like you don't have people like that in your life, it's like you starting to recommit to yourself also opens you up to the commitment of other people, because as much as other people might want to stick by you no matter what, it's hard to do if someone repeatedly pushes you away. And if you have that pattern or habit of pushing people away because you just expect them to not accept you and love you exactly as you are, then you might have, perpetuate that experience, even if that's not really what's happening from other people's perspectives. They're being pushed away, but from your perspective, you're being abandoned, right? But I feel like this exploring self-love and acting and learning to be more loving of yourself will strengthen the foundations that might already be there in terms of the people who are in your life, but also will help you build foundations with new people, if so, with the people in your life, and help you understand how strong your friendships, your relationships really are. Help you understand how much love there is built into the foundations of the people who are of the relationships you have with the people who are most important to you. The Six of Charisma, Six of Pentacles, that's give and take. And to me, that's someone who recognizes the value that they have and is able to be generous and give to other people. And for you, that's also why self-love is important, because you actually have a lot to give. Going back to the idea of you as a creative, whether you identify that way or not, there's this idea that you have ideas, projects, things to share, to give that are of value to people. And you already might do that on some level, but you don't necessarily recognize the value of that. And the more you recognize the value of that, the more generous you're willing to be, the more like giving that you can be with other people, because you realize, wow, I have so much to give. And you can only really do that when you recognize that you have things that are worthwhile, that you have things that are worth giving. And so the Six of Charisma is indicating to me that you have a lot of things that are worth giving, that are worth sharing. And self-love is important for you because it will help you start to recognize those things and give them more freely and help make the lives of those around you better, your own life better through this act. And Wheel of Fortune being here, it's just like, it feels like this is something that's divine timing. It's happening. It's time for the blindfold to be removed. It's time for you to start to see yourself and see things in a different way. But once again, not through abandoning the things that you view as unacceptable about yourself or things that you view as limiting about yourself, but by accepting those limitations and working within them and working with yourself and sticking with yourself, committing to yourself, and then realizing and learning to see yourself in a new way, in a new light. But it's almost like you have to commit first, to commit to yourself as you are, and then you will start to grow in the way and see yourself in the way that you want to see yourself. It's like the antithesis of romantic advice that you might have seen, where people are like, oh, don't get together with someone who you and try to change them, right? Don't try to change them in the relationship, right? Like get into a relationship with someone who is exactly as you want them to be. But then at the same time, there's also the difficulty of like, is there anyone who's exactly as you want them to be? Like, what does that even mean? Like, what? Anyway, the point is, you're not committing to yourself from the perspective of, well, okay, it's like this. If you were going to be in a relationship with yourself, well, you have no choice. So keep in mind that you have no choice but to be in a relationship with yourself. You are always in a relationship with yourself. So make the choice to commit to yourself exactly as you are now. Don't commit to yourself with the caveat that I will be committed as long as I change in the way that I'm meant to change. As long as I do this, as long as I do that. Commit to yourself to commit to yourself. Just be like, I am committed to myself. And I have no choice. I'm making this commitment. And then from there, learn to accept yourself as you are, as where you're at. Love yourself for exactly who you are. And through that experience, you will change and grow, and you will become that person that you want to be, but also you will recognize where you've already been that person. And it's like, at the same time as you're changing, you're also like just being more of yourself and accepting more of yourself. It's like both things are happening at once. It's almost like if you're in a relationship with someone, but you refuse, and they're not being who you want them to be, and you keep trying to beg them to change and do this and do that, and like you're nagging like at them to do this and be this person and complaining all the time. Why can't he do this? Why can't she be like that? Blah, 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 blah. But then you also refuse to leave them. Then why not stop complaining and start loving them exactly as they are, seeing them for what they do bring to the table as opposed to what they do not. And it's like, do that with yourself. Don't leave yourself. Commit to yourself and commit to seeing yourself through the eyes of love. And don't wait for you to change. See you as you are right now and see what it is that you're already actually bringing to the table, and realize where you've been seeing yourself through the eyes of lack when you could be seeing yourself through the eyes of love. Which is funny because I was just about to ask for advice on how you could bring more self-love in, and I kind of already gave some advice. But nevertheless, let's ask the cards for any additional advice that they have for you when it comes to inviting more self-love into your life. What advice do you have for group 3 when it comes to inviting more love into, more self-love into their life, and when it comes to practicing self-love? Judgment, yeah, that's reversed. And 3 of charisma, 3 of pentacles. Strength is on the bottom. Resilience, again, similar to something that came out in group 2, but yeah, judgment reversed. Okay, so judgment reversed is becoming aware of the kinds of judgments that you place on yourself, developing more presence of mind, more conscientiousness about the way that you talk to yourself, the way that you view yourself, understanding that what you might have once thought of as just fact is actually just judgment. It's not fact. It is a thought pattern. Start to see your thoughts, your persistent thoughts about yourself and the way that you do things. And also, especially for a lot of you of past, I feel like there's some past energy, like how you used to see yourself, how you've been told that you are, things that you've done that you're not proud of, and you're still seeing yourself through that lens. See where you're still almost like, I just heard only God can judge you. It's like, but you are judging you. And so, yeah, maybe you don't believe in God, maybe you don't believe in judgment, maybe you don't believe that God judges you, whatever is the case. Maybe for some of you, you do believe in that, but you're not practicing it. You're judging yourself. You are being the judge. You're being judge, jury, and executioner of yourself. And I feel like you're not really aware of how much that's impacting you on a day-to-day basis, and how much of that is just simply perspective and not fact. And when it comes to, I feel like a lot of you are artists, or you've got things that you want to share, and you are really harsh on yourself. You're just really hard on yourself. Or you don't have to be an artist, but I do feel like that is for a lot of people. Because with the 3 of charisma here, that's sharing. That's sharing your gifts. That's working together with other people. So there's a couple things here. One is sharing the judgments that you make about yourself, the things that are holding you back, sharing that with other people who you feel comfortable with. If you feel like you are able to do that, can help you shift your perspective. Because if you're honest with other people in your life about how you see yourself, then they can tell you how wrong you are. But you have to be honest about that first, and you also have to be open to like their perspective, right? Or they can say, yeah, I see that, but they might be able to offer a different perspective. Or they can say, yeah, you can be like that sometimes, but that's okay. Like, I love you anyway. Or I think that's really cool. Or actually, I really like that about you. Like, there's all different kinds of ways that people view you. You can, by being honest and sharing your real thoughts with other people, you might gain a sense of perspective you don't have when you're just keeping them all inside your head. Others, like I said, journaling, honestly, writing out these thoughts, like writing out, doing like stream of conscious journaling about like whatever it is that's on your mind, whatever you're thinking about. Oh my God. Like, sometimes you will put something on the page and you'll look at it and you'll be like, you'll have a completely different perspective on it that you never had before you actually saw it on the page. Or if you're speaking some thoughts that you've had to someone out loud, just hearing yourself say those words, you might be like that doesn't actually resonate with me anymore. Like, I actually don't agree with that. But like, you don't realize that until you actually say it or you actually write it. That could be so helpful for you, especially if you're very unconscious about a lot of this, but you do feel held back. You do feel like you're very limited. Like, you have that general sense, but you don't know the exact specific things that you're thinking about that are holding you back. Like, putting them on a page will actually help you understand that. And then for those of you even who have these persistent thoughts that you're very aware of, you need to just get them out somewhere. You need to get them out. So share them with someone you trust or write them on a page and finally just see them for what they are. And you might be surprised at how your perspective shifts. But also there's this element of any kind of way that you can share your work, share your voice, work together with other people. If there are projects or things that you've been wanting to write or create or something like that, joining a group of people who are aspiring poets or authors or artists or who are artists who are doing what you want to do, and working together with people, whether on the same project or like being willing to share, get someone to like, you each like do an exchange, like where you share your story and they give you comment and feedback, and you share your story, and where you share your story with them and they give you comments and feedback. They share their story with you, and you give them comments and feedback, like an exchange of art, an exchange of critique. Anything like that will help you, like sharing, like putting yourself out there, like working with other people, sharing your stuff with other people will undo some of the judgments that you have about yourself, will undo some of these ideas that you have about your limitations, will show you how other people are committed to you and how they see you in a different way than you see yourself, and will also give you a sense of trust and commitment in yourself. Because when you commit to, I'm going to share myself and I'm going to put myself out there, and no matter how people respond to it, I'm going to be there for me, then you start to undo this idea of like, oh, I can't write because I don't have any good ideas. But you also never share your ideas with anyone. So like, how do you know if other people will like your ideas or not? And also, like, what if you put your idea out there and then someone else doesn't like it, but then you realize, oh wait, like, but I still like this idea, and their critiques of it don't make any sense, and I disagree with them. Then you realize, oh wait, maybe my idea is good after all, and I really like my idea, and it doesn't matter what other people think. Like, right? Like, you don't know what that experience is like until you actually have it. So put yourself out there. Put yourself out there, commit to yourself, commit to your project, commit to your ideas before you think that they're good, right? Love says, even if this sucks and you put it out there and everyone laughs at you, I'm still here with you. I'm still there for you. And chances are that's not what's going to happen, but also maybe the value is even just in that experience of sticking by yourself, being with yourself, and being like, no matter what, I'm still there with you, even if everyone fucking hates it. Even if they're like, this sucks. It's like, maybe you're going to feel way better about yourself knowing that you can put up with that kind of critique and still love yourself and be like, you know what? I still think I'm capable and worthy and good, and I can take feedback and improve and experiment, but also I can accept that not everyone's going to see things in the way I do, and that's also okay, and I'm still worthy and good. And, yeah. So yeah, we're gonna read the quote on the back of this to close out. So the quote on the back of this says, "That's the very reason why they put rubbers on the end of pencils, because people make mistakes." And this is from Fleabag. If you have seen Fleabag, then you know that the ellipsis here is a space for a dirty joke that the character of Fleabag says to her friend Boo. Boo is the one who's saying this quote, and Fleabag is the main character. We never learn her real name. That's just like the name of the show, and it's implied to be like, that's what everyone calls her. Not in the show, but like, you understand that's kind of who the character is, but you never actually learn her name. But Boo and Fleabag have this kind of committed relationship as well, where like they accept each other in their mistakes and in their moments, their best moments and their worst moments, and there's an unconditional love there, and that's also what is meant to be. That's meant to be your relationship with yourself. Now, there's a lot more that happens in Fleabag that I won't get into because I don't want to spoil it, but also like it's not really relevant to this reading. But there is a lot about Fleabag that is about like people dealing with regrets from the past, dealing with very real, very big, in some cases life-changing mistakes that they have made that are really painful and make it difficult for them to accept themselves and to move on and to grow and to be who they want to be, or just at least be happy, be okay. And part of the show is about the acceptance of your story and of your past in order to then move into a future that is more beautiful. But at first you have to learn to commit to yourself, to be with yourself, to accept yourself even through the things that you've done that feel like the worst things that you've ever done. And Love says that, well, that's why they put rubbers, i.e. erasers, on the back of pencils, because people make mistakes. Pencils have an eraser built into them because they know that like you might need it. And in life, yeah, you're gonna do things and then realize I shouldn't have done that, or I wish I didn't do it that way. But that's part of life, that's part of the experience, that's part of living. And the more that you accept that process and you forgive yourself for times in the past where you understood things differently, you didn't see something that you wish you had seen, and realize that if you didn't see it, if you didn't understand it then, you weren't meant to, and the only reason you understand things the way that you do now, the only reason you do things the way that you do now is because you had that experience. And accepting that it's not always easy, but it's how we move forward. And I can see that this group has a lot to offer, has a lot to give, a lot to bring to the table. And so whatever's holding you back, whatever past mistakes or present mistakes you feel are keeping you stuck, they're not going to be excuses for you for long to hold back. And you're worth sticking with. You're worth committing to. So trust that. And stay with yourself through this process. You'll be surprised. And with that, that's all we have for group 3. So thank you so much for joining me for this reading. And please like, comment, subscribe. I would love to know how this resonated. If you want to share, that would be amazing. And also, if you're interested in personal readings, we do offer those on our website, sunflowerphilosophy.com. The link is in the description. And I work with my mom, by the way. That's the we that I'm talking about. And we also do hypnosis and human design. So if you're interested in those as services as well, we offer those on our website too, so you can check that out. We also started a new YouTube channel where we talk about hypnosis, human design. We talk about tarot from like an outside perspective as opposed to like a reading. We talk about other things. We just started posting, so there'll be more videos to come. We have a lot of interesting conversations. So if you want to check that out, that's Sunflower Philosophy without the tarot, just Sunflower Philosophy on YouTube. I also put that link in the description as well. And thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful life, and I will see you in another reading again sometime very soon. Bye! Hi, Group 4. If you selected this image, then you're in the right place, and this is your reading all about self-love. So as I mentioned in the reading breakdown / group selection, I'm going to start by talking about this image and any impressions that come through from it. Then I'm going to get a card to represent how you're viewing yourself right now. And then we're going to get a look at you from the perspective of love. And then we'll talk about why self-love is important for you right now. Like, why do we want to explore self-love on a deeper level? What's in it for you? And then we'll get into advice on how to practice self-love more in your life right now, how to bring more of that into your life. And we'll close by reading the quote that's on the back of this card. And I actually, in some groups I had an idea of the quote that was on the back. I actually completely forget what quote is on the back of this card, so it'll be a surprise for me too. But without further ado, let's first talk a little bit about this image. So, first things first, with the sheep being here, if I had to guess, I would imagine the quote on the back has something to do with conformity or non-conformity. So that could be an important theme for you right now. That could be something that's on your mind. You could see yourself as someone who either goes along with the group or maybe is a bit of a black sheep in your family or your community. But there's also this sense of adorableness, cuteness, cuddliness. So those could be traits of you that you embody. A lot of people might find you cute, cuddly, or adorable, or maybe you really like animals. Maybe you really like soft things as well. So those could be confirmations for you, or those could be important things that relate to other messages in this reading. But that's really all that's coming through with this image, so we're just going to get right into how you're viewing yourself, and we'll let the message unfold from there. So Group 4. How is Group 4 currently viewing themselves? How is Group 4 currently viewing themselves? What perspective are they viewing themselves from? How are they currently viewing themselves? Okay, 2 cards. 5 of Swords, King of Pentacles. Ooh, the first word that came through was a loser. Yikes. That's a little harsh. I don't know if it's that harsh for all of you. I feel almost though, with the King of Pentacles being here in reverse, this could be in a very specifically financial context. Like, not satisfied with your career, not satisfied with your financial resources, not feeling like you have enough to give. And for some of you, you feel like a loser, like literally because of this, like maybe you actually have that feeling about yourself. But for others of you, maybe you recently lost out on some money or a job or something, like very literally, and maybe that's why. For others of you, for everyone, I feel like this is, this is coming from a place of, self-sabotage is sometimes a word that comes through with the 5 of Swords. Self-sabotage, maybe for some of you feel like it's sabotage from outside of you as well. But since this is how you're viewing yourself, I feel like for most of you, it is really from the perspective of like, you've lost out on something. You don't feel like you have enough. You feel like you're losing in a losing game, or you feel like in order to get ahead, you have to be underhanded. And for those of you who feel like some of you might, there's also a message that some of you are viewing yourself as someone who has a tendency to be ruthless when it comes to personal gain. Like feeling like you need to go against your own sense of morals, or you need to be really cutthroat in order to get what you want or get what you deserve, but it's not working. Interesting. But overall, I'm not getting the most positive view. Almost like, I'm not getting like I'm not feeling like you have the most positive view of yourself, but there's a divide on whether you're conscious of this or whether for you, I feel like for most people here, this would resonate as a conscious thought. Like you very literally feel like I'm not enough. I'm losing out, or I lost out, like maybe very literally on something recently. Like that resonates, and along with this idea of self-sabotage. For others of you, this might actually not be such a conscious thing. And in fact, you might be viewing yourself almost like you have to put up defenses. You have to have almost like this cutthroat mentality, this idea of like you've got to come out on top at all costs, you've got to win at all costs. Like a win at all cost mentality is coming from a feeling of being not enough, a feeling of a lack of self-worth, but you might not be aware that that's why you feel that way. So you might just be like, nah, I'm just like a real go-getter, you just got to be ruthless, you just got to go for it. But there's a sense underneath that of like a lack of self-worth, like a lack of feeling like you have enough, you have what it takes to be enough, to have enough, that you're just enough as you are. Like you feel like you have to resort to underhanded tactics in order to be who you want to be, to get where you want to go. But like, it's just because you don't value yourself enough underneath all of that. That's not going to be for everyone, but obviously you'll know if it resonates with you. So, excuse me, I just need to take a sip of water there. Ooh. All right. So now we're going to get the perspective on how love sees you. How does love see you? Okay. The 10s keep popping out. 10 of Cups, 10 of Pentacles. So like, very valuable indeed. Love sees you as very valuable, but let's see. Let's see. Love, how does love see group 4? How do you see group 4? Can you pop it out, please? Pop it out, please. How does love see group 4? Group 4 from love's perspective. Can you please pop out a card? Ooh. That's a lot of cards, but I'll take these two. The Warrior and the Lycanthropes, which in regular Rider-Waite-Smith would be the Empress and the Moon. Ooh, okay. So this is like lack of self-worth over here on your side, on like your perspective side. And this over here is like full-on self-worth and like a very motherly energy. Like almost like, I feel like with King of Pentacles reverse and the Five of Swords, there's almost like a toxic masculinity here. And so either, I feel like a lot of you are seeing yourself through that lens, either because you have masculine traits or you're performing certain like kinds of masculinity that you view as toxic, but you also view it as like you're viewing yourself from that perspective, like, oh, like that's just the way that I am or the way I'm supposed to be. Like you have this like view of yourself as like someone who is that way or has to be that way, but you don't want to be. But then over here, there's like a very feminine energy. Like the Warrior in this deck, yes, is the Empress, but also is the Warrior. Like I feel like there's this mix of feminine masculine energy in the Warrior, right? And the Empress is someone who knows their self-worth, is very confident, alongside the Lycanthropes or the Moon, which is, the Moon is the card of like motherly energy, the like dark feminine aspect, but also with the Lycanthropes here, there's this element of having like two sides to your nature, right? Having like the more animalistic wolf side and then having the human side. And I feel like there's like a balance here in identity. And love, it's like love sees you as powerful for having both aspects, for having a balance of both aspects. Whereas you, I feel like on your side, there's this feeling of seeing yourself only through like one lens, or seeing yourself as imbalanced, seeing yourself as like if you resonate, for example, with the idea of seeing yourself through the lens of toxic masculinity, it's almost like you are suppressing one side of yourself with the other because the other side of yourself deems that as either unacceptable or vulnerable or both. And so that one comes out and takes over and tries to be as powerful, be the more powerful side. But you're actually the most powerful when both sides of you are in balance, because when one side of you is taking over and trying to be the winner, trying to like say, hey, like, this is the only way that we can do this. Let me step in. Let me do things this way. Like, you're only at half power. You're not able to fulfill your potential. You're not able to flip this King of Pentacles upright and be your fullest self. And I feel like you know that and you see that in yourself. Again, like, it could be self-sabotage. And you're seeing yourself through that lens. But, like, that's because you're not seeing the value in all parts of you, in both sides of you. If there's like a dual-sidedness to your nature, or there's two parts of you that feel like they're at war, it's like, no, both of them are equally valuable and need to work together. And love sees you as very powerful, as a warrior, but also one who is not like, is this is like the difference between, like, I'm seeing like someone who is a manipulative trickster in the Five of Swords, right? Someone who's like got to be underhanded in order to get ahead, who doesn't trust in like either the society around them to be fair, and also they can't be fair to themselves. They don't trust their own skills and abilities either. So, and I know that's more Seven of Swords, but that's what I'm getting from the Five of Swords. Like, I feel like this Five of Swords person came out on top, but it's almost like, at what cost? Like, they won, but like by being like too aggressive, or by being too underhanded, or by being too tricky. Whereas like the warrior is like, it's like the difference between like that strategy and like the warrior is like the art of war, like someone who's like very skilled and naturally powerful and naturally good at like what they do. Yeah, there's like a feeling of like bravado on your side that's masking a lack of self-worth. And then on the love side, love sees you as inherently very powerful, just like in your presence, in who you are, just being yourself, accepting your full self, and sees you as having multiple sides to you, depth and a balance in your nature. And like, there's immense power here. There's immense worth here. And it's inherent to you. It's who you are. And yeah, like, I feel like almost like you're seeing yourself as not so good of a person. But love sees you as like a incredibly capable and dualistic and nuanced and interesting person. Because I also feel like there's room for like nuance here on love's side, right? There's room for the idea that like, yes, sometimes maybe you can be ruthless. Sometimes you maybe can be a little bit over the top. Maybe sometimes you can be a little toxic. Maybe sometimes you can be and maybe you aren't where you want to be. But at the same time, you are also very fair, capable. You know what you're doing. You have a good strategic mind. You are also like, there's a part of you, it's like almost like love sees you as like, you might see yourself as not being worthy, not having enough, like, but it's almost like because love knows that you are worthy of everything, of so much more. And so not only does love already see you as enough, but love also sees you as worthy of more and knows that already and is confident in that already. Whereas on your side, there's like I said, a bravado that masks a lack of confidence. Like, I'm going to go get that. I'm like going to be extra cutthroat and I'm going to go overboard in trying to win and prove myself because I feel like I need to. I feel like I don't have enough. I feel like I'm not enough. But then on love's side, love says, I just am. And all those things that I view as maybe toxic traits or whatever, there's also an important use for them. There's a place for them. There's a strategic advantage to them, and I can employ those in ways that that actually help me and benefit others as well. And also there's an acceptance again of like a dualistic nature of two different sides of you that might at times feel like they're at war, but actually work together quite well when they are allowed to both coexist, when you're allowed to be in this case, for a lot of people, potentially both masculine and feminine at the same time, when you're allowed to be both like a go-getter and smart and successful, and then also like laid back and chill and relaxed. Like you could be both, right? It's accepting both sides of you, both parts of you fully and completely. So this is interesting. Let's get into why this is important for you at this time. Why is self-love something that you're being called to explore more deeply at this time? Why is self-love something that you're being called to explore more deeply at this time? 10 of Strength, which is the 10 of Wands. And do we have another card? We have 2 more. Of course we do. Because this is the group that, aside from the quote cards, this is the group that's like, we're just going to get all the cards, apparently. 5 of Strength. 5 of Wands on the bottom of the deck. 10 of Strength is one that came out. So the first thing that came out was like, this is important for you right now because you have a tendency to take on a lot. And one thing that's coming through is that, one, you are very capable of taking on a lot. So there is the sense of what it is that you are doing with your life. You're ready to expand that. You're ready to do more. You're ready to have a greater impact. And at the same time, there's a message about, because you're expanding and growing and your influence might be growing and your capacity for what you want to do. One of the reasons why you might, again, like be perceiving yourself as not being enough and not having enough is because you actually know that you're here for more, like you know you're capable of more, consciously or subconsciously. And so that part of you that knows that wants to get on with it, wants to create more in your life, wants to have more of an influence, wants to have more wealth and abundance because you know you're capable of it. But again, part of the secret to accepting that and to continue and to cultivating love in your life is also to see your worth and worthiness outside of that context, to see it as inherent rather than linked to that abundance. And then still you can also pursue expansion, pursue growth from a standpoint of, but I know that I can and I want to and I feel drawn that way and I'm going to explore that, right? I want to. And instead of Strength is saying, yeah, you're ready to expand, you're ready to grow, you're ready to take on more. And at the same time, you're also being asked to be aware of where you might be cutting yourself off from support, from like be more strategic about like, yeah, okay, if I'm going to expand, like say, for example, you're a business owner. This is like just a metaphor, but say you're a business owner, right? And you want to expand your business. Well, if you want to expand your business, but you're, say, the only one running the business and you want to take on more clients, you want to create more products and you want to branch out more, you're going to have to hire more people. Like you're going to have more people, like more people are going to have to be involved to expand to a certain amount because there's more tasks that you want to do. There's more people that you want to work with. And so at a certain point, you need to delegate. You need to share the burden. And so wherever you're expanding in your life right now, you might have a tendency of being a little hyper independent, of being a little bit like, again, like, you know, if you can be quite competitive in the field that you're in or whatever you're doing in your life, wherever you're expanding in your life, you could have a mentality of like, I work alone, I got to do this on my own. Actually, that that brings me back to the lycanthropes, right? There's this idea of like almost like a lone wolf over here, and then with the lycanthropes over here, there's there's 2 wolves here. There's 2 people working together, right? Like there are more, you might be a lone wolf, but there are more lone wolves like you can form a pack together, right? And then you're not alone. And so like in 10 of Strength, it's telling you to expand your pack, to open up to the idea that you can work with other people, you can invite other people in on your project, you can expand and become this King of Pentacles with the help of others, because that's kind of how any I don't feel like there's a lot of wealthy people who get wealthy alone, you know? I mean, there's some who definitely do so on the backs of other people without necessarily having a lot of consideration for the impact they have on others, but I don't believe that that's the only way you can do it. I feel like you can be a very conscientious person who expands your reach and your wealth and your prospects, and also be very conscientious of the impact that you have on the world and other people and work with other people. And that also might be where you're viewing yourself, there might be a sense of ambition within you that you're at odds with because you view yourself as having to sacrifice some of your morals and your ideals for the expansion that you want to create. And for some of you, you might have started on this path and already made some concessions in terms of your morality, and you feel like that's why you feel like you're a bad person. Like some of you feel like you're a bad person, but that's not inherent to you. You can be very deliberate. You can be this warrior. You can be this person who has the ability to both be generous and loving and kind and nurturing, and also be ambitious and willing to go out on a limb and willing to take risks that other people won't, and willing to do or say things that other people won't. Like, you can be both. You can have a balance, and those two sides of you can work together. With the Ace of Charisma, which is also the Ace of Pentacles, and the Magician here, yeah, manifestation. Ace of Pentacles is like the infinite potential and like a seed, right? And then the Magician is manifestation. You have all the tools, you have all the skills to create what you want to create. Like, this is a group that has a lot of potential. You have a lot going for you in the physical realm, whether you know it or not. Like, you have a lot of room to grow, and you have the ability to do it. And it's just a matter of like opening up to working with other people as opposed to against other people, and realizing that you can be that person. Like, I feel like going back to the Empress, like, she doesn't do things alone. She knows what she's worth, and so she can receive the help that is required of her. People come to her. People want to help her. People want to work with her. I see her as someone who is willing to receive help, to receive abundance, and also to give it back, to give back nurturing, to give back help and aid as well. And this is also something that's coming through, balancing this might be the actually what a lot of people here are working to balance. Balancing your physical, like 3D ambitions in this world with your spiritual side, your spiritual ambitions, your spiritual development, right? Finding the balance between those two things. Like, on the one hand, maybe being very like 3D logical, money-minded, like, I want to build a firm foundation for myself. I want to like create more in this world. And then also being like, but I'm also curious about spirituality. I want to develop on that realm as well. And like, for some of you, there could be this tension between like, you know, you've done things by the book, quote unquote, and now you're learning more by the book in terms of like how you've seen other people do things in a very like physical world mindset. And now you're being exposed to other things like manifestation and spiritual practices and things that like expand you in different ways. And you're like, ooh, like, can I tap into this? Like, can I use these tools? It's like kind of weird. Like, but you're a very good manifester at all. So it's kind of just recognizing how you've already been that person, and realizing that if you want to view it in a different way, from a different perspective, and use practices that are new to you, you can do that. That's available to you. And this will just expand your reach. This will help you expand. And it also will help you feel better about who you are. Because I feel like you'll find ways of creating the wealth and and living out your ambitions that you've in the way that you've wanted to, in a way that aligns more with your morality, and like does not require you to sacrifice as much of your goodwill and like the things that the person you want to be in this world. Like, it's actually possible, but you have to be open to creating it, to see that you have those tools and to use them. And yeah, and like you're ready to expand, basically. So we've already gotten into some things that could be considered advice, but I will ask for more advice on how you can expand your sense of self-love. But also, yeah, why this is important is because you have a lot of potential. There's a lot that you're here to create. You are expanding. And self-love is one avenue that will help you keep expanding, because through your self-love, you learn to accept multiple seemingly disparate sides of yourself. You learn how to get them to work together in a way that's beneficial to you. You learn of your inherent worth, and you also learn that your ambitions are valid and worth pursuing. And that's important for you right now. So any further advice for this person, for group? Okay, yeah, all the cards. We're just taking all the cards. Ace of Strength, which is the Ace of Wands, Justice, and the Knight of Pentacles. Queen of Wands on the bottom of the deck. Okay, so yeah. Ace of Wands. So ways that you can develop more self-love. For the Ace of Wands here, very literally, some of you might take up meditation. That might be a way for you to practice more self-love, because being more centered in yourself, I see like a heart opening here, getting more connected with all the yellow here and orange, getting more connected with like your solar plexus chakra, like which is your confidence, your willpower. More connected with the actions that are aligned with you, as opposed to the actions that you might feel are not aligned with you, right? Ace of Strength, Ace of Wands, it is about action. It's about creativity. It's about your willpower, your creative force. So getting more in touch with that, becoming more conscious of that, and using it more consciously, because I feel like you have a lot of creative energy and potential. You have, like, the Empress is here, for God's sake. The King of Pentacles might be here in reverse, but it's still the King of Pentacles. The Magician is here. Like, you've got all this creative energy. You've got so much that you even if you haven't explored it fully yet. Some of you are already on this path. Like, you might have already been creating for a long time. You might be in the middle of a very long, persistent career of like success here and there and expansion and growth. Some of you are just getting started. Either way, you are entering a new chapter of that, where you are wanting to connect with yourself on a deeper level and expand in accordance with your values, and also establish what those values are. With Justice here, there's fairness, justice. For a lot of you, justice might be a very important tenet, a very important value. And there's a sense of bringing justice to yourself, being fair to yourself. Practice being fair to yourself. Practice finding ways to look at situations where you can see the nuance in it, as opposed to casting yourself exclusively as the villain. Whether you're casting yourself as the villain because you feel like you've acted in some way that is unjust to other people, or because you've sabotaged yourself, you've worked against yourself, right? Can you find a way to have more compassion while also being honest about, hey, like, you know what, I can have compassion for my situation and the way that I went about that, but at the same time, I'm being real with myself. I don't like what I did there. I don't like how I behaved, or I want to do things differently in the future. I want to be a different person for myself, for other people. Be fair and honest with yourself in that respect. You don't have to be so black and white about it. You don't have to go to one extreme or the other. Like, oh my God, I'm the worst person in the world. I'm such a terrible villain. I might as well just keep doing things the way that I'm doing. Or I'm such a terrible person, I keep sabotaging myself, I might as well just keep doing things the way that I'm doing. No, you can say, I'm a work in progress. I'm working on figuring out who I am, who I want to be in this world, and how to navigate the systems that we were born into, the life that I was born into, the things that I've believed up until this point. And this is working for me, but this is not. And how can I work with myself to change things? Just being more fair and just to yourself. And with the Knight of Charisma, the Knight of Pentacles, enjoy the moment. Enjoy the little day-to-day tasks. Especially as someone who, it seems like you're building you have a lot of ambitions, right? You could also be very hard on yourself in terms of if you feel like you're not getting there fast enough. If you think that things aren't working out fast enough. If you feel like you're making wrong moves, or if you just did this, things would happen faster. But if you can be more in the present moment with the day-to-day tasks that you need to do, and make sure that you're enjoying the process, that's the most important part. And that's part of self-love for you, is not just when am I gonna get to where I want to be? It's, can I be where I am right now? And enjoy it. Like, look at this little guy. This little guy is enjoying bartending so much. He's just happy doing his little thing, putting together a cocktail and serving it, and he probably even enjoys cleaning the counters because it's his own little bar, and that's the sense that I get of someone who's enjoying the love and the care and the attention that they put into whatever it is that they're creating. So you might have a lot of ambitions, but again, it could come from a place of low self-worth. But if you actually take the time to live in the moment of like, you can still have your ambitions, you can still have your goals, you can have things that you're going for, you can have the kind of person that you want to be, but enjoy the process of that. Really be in the creation of what you're making, and doing so will help you. I mean, you'll feel better about yourself because you'll actually realize how aligned you are with the path that you're on. And like I said, for some of you, I feel like you have a tendency to villainize yourself, a tendency to see yourself in not really the best light. But like, this Knight of Charisma isn't thinking about, oh, am I a good person or am I a bad person for what I'm doing right now? The Knight of Charisma is enjoying what they're doing right now. They're just enjoying the moment. They're enjoying the process, and they're going step by step and really being in it. And along with the Ace of Wands here, like the Ace of Strength, like, you know, this person is meditating and connecting with their true power and who they truly are, and that's helping them feel more assured and like, yeah, I know why I'm doing this. I'm doing this from a place that is connected with my values, connected with who I really am. It's fair to me, it's fair to others. And so I'm not going to overthink it. I'm going to act from that place of value, but I'm also going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy the moment, and I'm not going to be so hard on myself, right? Yeah, cultivate a very, like, mindfulness is very important here. And so now I want to read the quote on the back of this card finally and wrap this up. So the quote says, "To be free from convention is not to spurn it, but not to be deceived by it. It is to be able to use it as an instrument instead of being used by it." I'm going to read that again. This is from Alan Watts, by the way. To be free from convention is not to spurn it, but not to be deceived by it. It is to be able to use it as an instrument instead of being used by it. Okay, this actually makes a lot of sense. Because there's a sense, I'm going to go back to like the business method, right? The idea that there's maybe some conventional wisdom when it comes to how you run a business, how you be a business person, how you be successful financially. And yet also there's this tension between like, do I want to do things the way that I'm quote unquote supposed to, feeling like you might have to sacrifice your morals, or there's certain things that you're not willing to do, or there's an environment of being really cutthroat, something that doesn't align with you fully and who you want to be. And there's this idea of wanting to be free from convention, but not wanting to, there's a balance, right? There's a sense of balance, the light and the dark, being able to work from a place of balance. So, for example, someone might leave a certain position, like a certain, like say someone leaves their job or like leaves a company or something like that, where they made a lot of money. And in their life, you know, that's been the conventional way of going about making money, is having a job where you make a lot of money, it's very secure and whatnot. But they realize like there's a lot of things in that environment that don't align with them, they don't like it. The way that they're being asked to be does not speak to them, and it makes them feel like a bad person. So then they go the opposite route, and maybe they like get rid of all their money and they become a monk and they live outside of society, right? So it's like one extreme to the other. I mean, you can do that, and if that works for someone and if that's their life path, that's fine. But in your case, there's this feeling of you want to be free from the conventional wisdom that does not align with you. But what's going to work for you is not to spurn these things that have not aligned with you completely, not to spurn convention completely, but not to also believe that it's the end-all be-all of truth, right? Like that, not believe that it's the only way to be able to use some of the conventional wisdom that speaks to you, that works for you, that actually aligns, that don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, really. Use what is useful to you, use what you've gained from your experiences that might not have been so aligned, and take the wisdom from that forward with you. But don't be deceived into believing that there's only one way of doing things, that you have to do X, Y, and Z, that it doesn't matter if you don't like it, this is the only way you're going to get there. Because that's not true for you. That's not true at all. You can have your cake and eat it too, so to speak. And so there are ways where you're being asked to look outside of the realms of convention and go the unconventional route. Maybe, again, like looking into spiritual methods of creating wealth that you didn't look into before versus also bringing in really grounded practices that have worked for you or worked for other people in business that align with you, right? Like doing both, like bringing two different things together. It's also like within yourself, bringing two seemingly disparate parts of yourself together, taking the best of both worlds. The best of both worlds. Best of Both Worlds by Hannah Montana. Maybe you want to listen to that song. Maybe that speaks to you as well. But yeah, like being able to not throw the baby out with the bathwater and find the baby in everything and take it with you. You know, don't leave that baby behind. Don't throw that baby out the window. And I feel like that will help. This I feel like went beyond the realms of self-love, but it's almost like you've had like the TLDR is like you've had trouble accepting all of yourself because you felt like you needed to like get rid of parts of you and parts of your experience and parts of wisdom that has been good for you, and you've been having trouble realizing that no, like you, just because just because the totality of something isn't valuable for you doesn't mean there's not nuggets of value that you can bring with you. Like, you don't have to be so all or nothing about it. And you have the ability to pick and choose and be wise about the parts of you, the parts of life that you bring with you, and the parts that you leave behind. And you can weigh your options, weigh your choices and decisions, and adjust as you go. And every experience that you have will have a baby that you can bring with you, and bathwater that you can throw out. Okay. That is all for you. And that will help you accept yourself, is what I'm saying. Accept the actions that you've taken, accept the experiences that you've had, is accepting the nuance in those experiences and accepting that there's always value there. And then there's also things that you learn are not right for you, but there's value in that learning as well. And that's it. And then you accept the nuances of who you are, the dark and the light, the things that you agree with and the things that you don't. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this resonated with you. I would be so interested to see your thoughts on this reading, how this resonated with you, what came up for you during this reading. If you would like to share in the comments, please do. Also, like and subscribe if you would like to do that. And if you're interested, my mom and I, we work together. We offer personal tarot readings and also hypnosis and human design on our website, sunflowerphilosophy.com. Link is in the description. We also just started another YouTube channel for just talking about hypnosis and human design and also tarot. Like, we don't do the same kinds of readings here, but we talk about it, and we'll have other discussions and stuff. Time of recording, we just started posting there, but there'll be a lot more there. So if you want to check that out, feel free to go subscribe. Link is also in the description. And thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful life, and I will see you in another reading again sometime very soon. Bye!